Hey everyone, I wanted to make a video showcasing the Wild Strike build I've been playing. It's an elemental Wild Strike build, similar to Ellie Buzzsaw. The idea is getting lots of flat elemental damage from as many sources as you possibly can. The big thing with Wild Strike is scaling Fizz improves the initial hit, but it does not really help with the secondary effects because that increase from Fizz doesn't really improve the secondary effect too much. So if you have flat elemental damage, the flat elemental damage affects everything. So every secondary effect gets all your flat elemental damage. So it's really, really good to have lots of flat elemental damage from as many sources as you can. That guy is totally trolling me right now in this video. And having a high attack speed just allows those secondary effects to proc constantly. You're constantly shooting the different secondary effects off in all different directions, and they do a really good job of killing enemies all over the room. A lot of times even killing enemies that aren't even visible on screen at the time, as you can kind of see in this video. This isn't the best map layout for something like this. You'd want something that's a little more open, that way the secondary effects have more room to travel and do their damage. But the enemies are pretty tightly clustered in this map, which is still pretty good, because it especially allows things like the fire proc, which is just an explosion around you, to do a bit more work. Whereas in a bigger, more open map where the enemies are spread out, the fire one tends to not do a whole lot. In my opinion, it's probably the weakest one of the three different procs that can happen. But everything else seems to be doing pretty well. So. Okay, so real quick, let's talk about the passive tree and the gear. So I am a raider. I'm level 86. For Ascendancy, I've got Way of the Poacher for frenzy charges on kill, Quartz Infusion, Avatar of the Veil. At one point I had Avatar of the Chase. I think this stuff gives a little more damage, but this stuff feels a little safer because of the dodge and the spell dodge. I have Reduced Reservation Cluster right here, and then I have another one right over here. These combined give me 26% reduced mana reserved, and then I have an Alpha's Howl. Together that allows me to run Herald of Thunder, Herald of Ice, Anger, and Wrath, and it reserves 100% of my mana, and then I just use Blood Magic Gems for everything else. That gives me a ton of added elemental damage. My tooltip is 23k, but this is only the initial hit. This does not take into account any of the secondary effects, which are really what's actually doing the damage. And I don't even think this is the full initial hit, because I think that the 60% of physical damage converted to a random element, I don't even think that that's included in here. But it doesn't matter, because the initial hit is not what we're after. We're after the secondary effects. So I've got Resolute Technique. You can see the rest of the trees, a bunch of life, attack damage leech, another frenzy charge, weapon elemental damage, aggro, phase aggro, some more life and stuff. And then for gear, this is my weapon. It's like 360 elemental damage. It's pretty good. I think it was like 25C because it doesn't have crit, otherwise it would have been way more expensive. There's my Alpha's Howl, which you guys already saw. Here's my shield. It's not bad. Nice amount of evasion, nice amount of life. Not a lot of resist though, unfortunately. Here's my boots. These aren't bad, but Dark Ray Vectors would be better. I have a pair of them that I found, but I haven't tried swapping them in yet. I'll probably swap them in and just experiment and just see if it works out better than these. Gloves. My gloves aren't very good. The flat fizz damage to attacks. I don't really care about flat fizz. They don't have attack speed either, which would also be really nice to have. This ring's okay. It's probably worse than okay. This amulet is alright. This ring's decent. Doesn't have another life roll, but I really needed the intelligence because Herald of Thunder and Wrath have a high intelligence cost. Belt's decent as well. And then for chest, I'm wearing a High Resire, which has cold damage to attacks, which is great. And then I 6-linked it, so we got Wild Strike, Weapon Elemental Damage, added cold, faster attacks, blood magic, and elemental focus. I'm not using multi-strike because I don't like getting caught in the animation, especially in a build where you want to be able to move around a lot. I don't want to have to get stuck in the animation when I'm trying to whirl out of the way of some big attack or something like that. Even though I have I have a 60% chance to evade and I've got dodge and spell dodge, I still like to be able to manually evade big hits and stuff that could possibly kill me if they connect. These flasks here are really nice for utility, the Onslaught, and then Aquamarine for the chilled ground, and Stibnite Flask does the smoke cloud. These three are great to use on like a big pack of enemies, or on bosses and stuff to chill them and slow them down. I also have Cast when damage taken, Ball Lightning, Blind, and Warlord's Mark. This gives me another 2% leech on top of the 2% that I have from the tree, which gives me a lot of sustain. I probably don't need this stone golem anymore. I should probably swap him out for a lightning golem for the attack speed, but I haven't done that yet. So for jewels, Mantra of Flames would be a really good jewel for this build. I have one here, but I'm not using it yet because I haven't picked up any jewel sockets, although I probably should. But every buff, and these are all buffs, is going to give me some fire damage to attacks, which is really good. Really, really nice synergy for this build. And then real quick, I want to talk briefly about name locking. If you don't know what name locking is, it's when you have to click directly on an enemy to attack them. You don't need to do that with Wild Strike, but not a lot of people know that. So if we find some enemies and we stand near them and we just attack, you can see I'm not targeting anything, but as long as something is within range of my weapon, it hits them and it still triggers the secondary effect. Now, I don't know if this is actually even intended. I don't really know why this is happening, but it happens, and again, the secondary effect is all I care about. So it doesn't bother me that the initial hit is not actually connecting, because really all I'm looking for is the secondary effect. And in that case, actually, the initial hit might still be connecting. I can't really tell. But again, you don't need the name lock. Still doesn't 100% compare to skills like Earthquake or something, where you just click anywhere and stuff is going to die. But it helps out. You don't have to click on every single enemy to try and kill them. So, anyway, that's the build. Thanks for watching.